Hey kids, welcome back to the Whitey the White Guy Show. I'm Whitey, and today I'm going to review the film The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. This film, if you are going to love it, or you're going to hate it, or you're going to find it boring or interesting, is highly predicated on you, the viewer. If you're somebody who has just grown up hearing nothing but Jesse James this and Jesse James that, and you're familiar with characters like Wood Hyde and Charlie Ford, and you go, what would it have been like to walk around, to be in the room with Jesse James? What would it have been like to be on a train robbery with none other than the Jesse James? This film you're going to love. Let's see the guy's name real quick. Andrew Dominic, the director, does an amazing job of putting you in that place, in that time, in the room, in a way that few directors ever have. Again, it's a historical movie, and the one downside even there is it's not about Jesse James at his height of success and excitement. It's about the tailing off of his career as a bandit, and more about him suffering and being sick, and being paranoid about the people around him trying to kill him, leading up to his assassination, of course, and then follows Bob Ford for a few years afterwards until he was killed. But the point is, it's not even exciting for you if you love this thing, but it's magical in a way. It is as best as well as I've ever seen a film transport you, the viewer, into that moment in time. This film accomplishes that. It really gives you the sense of being there and who these people were. And again, it's like if you could shoot a film in a way where there's two people having a conversation and you feel like the third person in that conversation, this film accomplishes that. It generates you to the place, the time, the feeling of authentic. It's just amazing. But, okay, you're going to like that film but if you just pop this in and go, who the fuck is Jesse James? You'll probably hate this movie. Very slow going, very slow paced. It's got its actiony moments in that, but even in those moments, it's not about the action. It's about the characters. It's about developing these characters first. So, for example, there's a sequence where Jesse James, they go to rob the Blue Cut robbery. They go to rob a train. It's about the last one they ever did, and it goes horribly south. Jesse James, he ends up hitting a guy over the head, and he's bleeding out. He goes to shoot the guy who was lying on the floor, and then Ed Miller says, "Don't shoot him." The moment is not about that action and excitement. It's about the relationship between Jesse James and Ed Miller. You know, that somebody has told him what he can't do. He says, "Don't tell me what I can and can't do, Ed." That's the important stuff. It's the interplay between the characters. It's the drama being built up, not the action. But there's moments early where like Jesse James goes to put his ear on the rail and says, you know, can tell that the train's coming. Stuff like that just puts you in that time and place. It's actually quite amazing. But it is slow paced, slow going, conversations, and there's tension in the room because Jesse James didn't trust anybody, and understandably so. So there's a sequence where something bad happens. I'm not going to tell you what. And Jesse James ain't going to be happy about it. So everybody lies to his face while sitting around the dinner table. They pretend to be excited about what he's saying. They pretend like nothing's happening at all. And he can tell something's wrong because they're doing a bad job of it. But there's that tension of, oh shit, he knows. He knows something's up. How's he going to react? If you don't know who Jesse James is, if you don't know who Bob Ford is, and everyone went, why did Bob Ford do what he did? Why would a kid who idolized Jesse James, who's part of the gang, you know, spoilers from something that happened in 1882, or some point back in the day, why would Bob Ford, who liked Jesse James on the one hand, shoot him? And this film answers those questions. What was it like for the police trying to chase him and Bob Ford's interactions with them and the governor trying to get him? All that kind of stuff. If you wanted to know what happened and why and who these people were and what it was like, this film does an excellent job of that. But if you have no concern and you just want to eat your popcorn and watch a movie, this is not the film for you. Plain and simple. But let's break it down a little bit. I talked about the direction. Direction, amazing production, set design. It looks fantastic. Pop it in. You're just gonna have to see it for yourself. But it's a beautiful looking film. A gentleman named Nick Cave does the music. Again, very eerie, very spooky. Kind of puts you in the moment, put you in that place and time. Kind of like These Are Ghosts, and you're hearing those echo of those ghosts kind of feel. The acting is top notch. Brad Pitt, as always, does a very good job. Does a very good job as Jesse James. More impressively, I think Casey Affleck as Bob Ford. He really, this is a character throughout history. He killed a loved man for the South. And you would think with all the people that Jesse James killed or his gang killed, and some of the things that he did during the Civil War, that people would be applauding that somebody finally got the guy. Instead, everybody hated Robert Ford, partly because he shot Jesse James while he had no guns on, and he had his back turned to him. It was very cowardly for the standards of the time. But then you put it into Bob Ford's perspective. He's a 20-year-old kid. That's Jesse fucking James. It was still very scary. He was terrified. He was afraid. Him and Charlie Ford were afraid that Jesse James would kill them at any moment before this day. And now Jesse James found out that a guy named Dick Little turned himself in, and something's up. Again, that paranoia that the film plays out so well. So the actors do a great job. Sam Rockwell does a fantastic job as Charlie Ford. Sam Shepard does an excellent job as Frank James. I mean, everybody in this film gives you a top-notch performance. Again, the only lament about this film is its slow pace. Even if you're like, wow, that looks beautiful, that's amazing, what a performance. I would have liked to see these guys, this film, this style, these characters, when they were doing some shit that was exciting to watch. But again, as a historical piece, as something left for the generations so that they can understand history accurately, I think this was an A+ home run. As an action film, it's not an action film. But go check it out. The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. An excellent film if you're a cerebral, intelligent person. If not, go watch the Ninja Turtles movies. Not the originals from the 90s. I like those. Go watch the new ones. Thank you.